Locally created, nationally celebrated. This is From the Northwest to the Southeast, America's car radio show. If it has a throttle, we'll talk about it and feature it on air, online, on mobile, or on your smart speaker. This is our auto expert. I'm your host, Nick Miles, along with truck girl Jen.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
You started off knowing, obviously, I had been to Japan
Yes.
for the Tokyo Motor Show.
Yes.
And you have been to Japan because your son Stephen served in the U.S. Navy.
Correct.
And you got to go visit him out there. And the first thing out of your mouth was, and their fire trucks are so cute.
They are. They're adorable.
Because fire trucks need to be... We're by a fire station here at the radio station. There's a fire station next door. I don't see them as cute, the American fire trucks.
Well, American fire trucks are like 10 times the size of the Japanese fire trucks. So you're looking at maybe like a minivan style size.
Did you experience the traffic in Tokyo?
Yeah, I didn't drive in there. Let's just put it that way.
Well, they drive on the other side of the road, you know.
Right, and you can't read the signs. So let's say the train was my friend.
Stop sign is universal.
Train was my friend.
Oh, yeah. Well, that is the easiest way to get around.
It is.
Cars and taxis are so expensive, they put us on the train to go everywhere when we were there.
Yeah.
And the train is great. The people who mess the trains up in Tokyo are the Americans. Because you have assigned seating on the trains, and the Americans would sit wherever they wanted.
Are you talking the bullet train or the regular train?
Well, all of them.
Okay, because the train I took, there's the JR.
Oh, I was on trains all week, so I'm sure. I did take the bullet train, which I didn't really notice as being a bullet, but, you know.
Well, there's 3 different ones. There's a real fast one, a medium, and a slow.
Oh, well, why would a slow bullet?
It's cheaper.
Like a 45. Like a 45?
Yeah.
And then the 22 and the 9. Is that what they're called?
No, but that works.
Driving in Tokyo, they have some of the nicest cars. But Casey, who is the head of product for Toyota, told me the last time I was in Tokyo 2 years ago that the Japanese have a real problem with their vehicles because the tax on your vehicle increases every year. Wow. And when it becomes 7 years old, it's actually not viable to keep a vehicle because the tax becomes so high. So they get rid of them at 7 years old. They sell them to Indonesia and other countries that take their second-hand cars, and they buy new ones. So that's why when you're in Japan, almost every car you see on the road is no more than 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they are small.
Very.
They have the car companies that we know of, but we don't really see on the roads in America, like Isuzu and Daihatsu and all these people.
Yeah.
Daihatsu's part of Toyota, I guess. But Isuzu, and they have the tiniest vehicles that I think you don't actually have to park. You can put them in your pocket and walk to your appointment.
Pretty much. Did you see the parking that they have that's elevated?
Yes. Well, they have that in New York, too.
Oh, wow. These cars are so small. They look envision like a Matchbox car.
Yes, that's exactly
stacked
what it is.
in the little racks.
It's like a Matchbox car holder.
Yes, exactly.
And they stack them on top of each other with little hoists.
Yep.
The thing is, though, Americans, well, when they brought the Toyota Tundra, I think it was, to America for the first time, the Japanese got it all ready and they designed it and everything. They had to increase the size of the seats because Americans were too wide to sit in the Tundra. Yeah. So the seats were wider for the American market. I don't know if the Tundra's actually sold anywhere apart from America. I'd have to check that out. But their vehicles are tiny, and they have a lot of these little utility vehicles, which perhaps could be sort of street cleaners and garbage people. They're these tiny trucks that are a quarter the size of the studio.
Yeah, they're small.
And they are very small, and someone would hop into it, and they oftentimes are electric. They're like they're almost like little golf carts.
Yeah.
And they
a little more horsepower.
Yeah. You would not get a Malibu, a 1977 Malibu down some of the streets in Japan.
No.
They're just too wide. You get 2 vehicles down there. Oncoming traffic.
Did you guys go to where they have the Tokyo Square, where they did in the Drift movie?
Shibuya Crossing.
Yes.
Yes, we did go to Shibuya Crossing. In fact, I did my TV segment from Shibuya Crossing.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that area.
So it's an interesting crossing, because traffic and pedestrians look like they're going. It's very organized. Everything in Japan is very organized.
Yes.
But it looks like everybody's coming from every direction at the same time.
So if it's from the Fast and Furious movie, if you're familiar with Tokyo Drift, that was actually filmed there. Yeah.
Number 3, yeah.
Yeah, it was filmed there. Did you guys race across, try to beat the cars?
No, didn't try to get myself killed in traffic, if that's what you're asking, Jen. No, I didn't. I was quite orderly.
It was fun.
In Japan, you follow the lights.
Yes, you do.
And you do what you're told, because if you don't, you get
trouble.
Whacked with a large wooden stick, which the policemen seem to carry everywhere. Yes, they're very orderly.
Yes, they are.
And they do everything very appropriately, and their vehicles don't fail. They're
very courteous drivers too. If someone is trying to cross the street, they will literally stop, and they will turn their lights out.
Yes.
So that the pedestrian can cross the street without being blinded.
Yeah, I didn't witness that, but we were riding around in coaches quite a lot of the time because we went to the Olympic venue and several other places. We rode around in coaches, and the coaches were kind of interesting because they don't fit a lot of places. So the coach driver would pull into the front of the hotel every night. We'd get out and go upstairs. And then he'd have to do like a 6-point turn to get out of the hotel. Like and the Japanese, when you have a coach, something the size of the coach, even when you pull up in front of a hotel, there's like 5 people with parking, and they're holding these, like what they bring, when you're at the airport, they bring the airplane in with, and they're like, all this sort of thing, and then they cross it when it's time to stop, and... they're very...
Where did you guys stay?
The Strings Intercontinental, which was...
Did they have twin beds?
It's probably the biggest hotel.
Yeah.
With the most spacious hotel in Tokyo, and still the size of my thumbnail.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tiny. I mean, it was high end, but it was tight. All right, packed show today. We're going to talk to Tomas, Micah from the Fast Lane Car about the new Atlas Sports Cross, or Cross Sport, I should say. Super Duty is in our future, as well as more about the Tokyo Motor Show. All coming up on Our Auto Expert. Welcome back to the show. Catch up with previous episodes of the show on our website. You can find it at ourautoexpert.com. Hear all the past shows, see our automotive videos, and read inside car stories about your next ride. You'll find it all at ourautoexpert.com. One of the things that is starting to happen, it may be due to the government or costs of transportation, but a lot of car companies have started to manufacture vehicles in the United States. These car companies include Toyota, Mazda, Subaru. The first one to ever get the Subaru production going, or the first Subaru ever to be produced, it's Lafayette, Indiana is where they produce a lot of the Subarus, was the Legacy. And of course there's a new Legacy now made in Lafayette. So a lot of cars are made in the United States in the South, which is kind of cool. Car companies are opening new factories. Toyota are working with Mazda to open a joint factory in the next few months. Start building it, I guess, in the next few months. It won't open for about 3 years' time. They're going to start to build that. So a lot of car companies deciding that manufacturing in the United States is better. We also watched a lot of manufacturers move their production from Mexico back to the United States, which is kind of good for the country, I guess. The idea being that they have access to all the parts which are built in the United States here in the factories. Even companies like Honda have built several factories in Ohio. And one of the things that you can do in Ohio, where they built the factories, it's basically 4 hours to any major city or any major rail line in the United States from where they built their factories, right in the middle. Now, one of the reasons I've asked many times is, why are vehicles built where they're built? Perhaps they could be built in Oregon or Washington or on the West Coast. Well, one of the things is that, imagine things like tires. So car tires are made in Georgia, wherever they're made. They have to be shipped to the factory to be put on the wheels. And so one of the things with car tires is, why would you ship car tires all the way to the West Coast then put them on a vehicle, and then ship the vehicle all the way back to the East Coast, where about 60% of the vehicles are built. So it's interestingly enough, most vehicles are actually built on the East Coast. One of the new vehicles that is built on the East Coast in Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, is the new the new VW. So we are familiar with the Atlas. You've driven the Atlas,
Yes.
Jen? You've driven the Atlas, familiar with the Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
They came out with a new version of the Atlas called the Cross Sport. And joining us on the phone, Tommy Micah is here from the Fast Lane Car. And Tommy and I went to see the vehicle unveiled at the Chattanooga factory. There was an awful lot of politicians and applauding, Tommy, wasn't there, when they unveiled this vehicle?
Yeah, Nick, it was pretty nuts. I mean, it felt like they were unveiling a new Capitol building and less of a new vehicle.
Right. Yeah, I always think it's interesting when you have, for instance, the governor of Tennessee was there, Mr. Lee, and as soon as you anyone mentions his name, he would stand up and wave to the crowd.
How cute!
And they mentioned his name like 8 times before they actually introduced him. So he kept standing up, and then they have to every time a different politician got up to talk on stage, he had to come on stage and shake hands with everyone that was already on stage, and so that took 20 minutes.
Of course.
Not really, but it felt like it. Anyway, we're here to talk about the vehicle, I guess, more than anything else. This is an interesting segment, Tommy. So there are things like the Honda Passport, which is in this segment. The I guess what else? The Ford Edge is in this segment. This is sort of is big enough to have a third row, but has a 2-row. And the Crossport is taken off the Atlas, and instead of having 3 rows, they made it gave it a coupe back end, and decided to give it 2 rows.
So it's more like your wagon style.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I mean, I would say that this is for a different lifestyle, but I don't think sales have been that hot in this segment, have they? So you get a big SUV that doesn't have the third row. Things like the Passport and the Edge, they sell okay, but they're not big sellers, are they?
Well, and the vehicle they kept coming back to in the presentation was the Grand Cherokee. And, the Grand Cherokee has been one of America's staples for hauling families across country, for, well over 20, 25 years now. So Volkswagen, I think, wants part of that market. And an affordable way to do that is, instead of coming up with an entirely new platform, they took the Volkswagen Atlas, and just like you mentioned, it's on the same wheelbase, it's the same basic vehicle, but rather than having kind of a more traditional squared-off rear end, they added some sportiness to it. So it's got a new steering wheel over the Atlas, it's got a different front end, it's got standard large wheels. I believe they're 20s or 21s, which is a really big wheel. So basically what they did is they took the Atlas formula and they kind of just desegmented it into a smaller class.
I think the 20s are standard, the 21s are available. The other thing that they've sort of done is they've given away what the new Atlas would look like, because what they've changed in this vehicle, what they changed in the Cross Sport is probably what they're going to do in the regular Atlas when it comes around. So new front end, new back end, new steering wheel, new software, those type of things. So it's kind of like when they show the new Atlas, the new 3-row, which will probably be next year sometime, it's kind of like a already seen it in the Cross Sport. Do you think that this is going to be a big seller for VW?
It's such a competitive class right now. I mean, I like to think that the rising tide kind of raises all ships. So as more and more Americans switch from sedans to SUVs, that the market just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But the question is, can they regain market share from big players like the Ford Edge and the new Grand Cherokee? And we've seen mules running around of the new Grand Cherokee and even the larger Wagoneers. So it's going to be hard to attract buyers. And honestly, Nick, I don't really know why you would buy the Atlas Crossport over the standard Atlas, because in person it's an absolutely massive car. It rides on, like I mentioned, the same platform. So at some point I'd figure just get the 7-seater one. You can use it as a 5-seater if you want, but you have that added versatility when you need it.
I am right with you on that page. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Crossport. I think it looks good, but I think also that why do it? And unless the price is considerably different, and we don't know that price quite yet because we haven't driven it. That's the one thing we haven't done, and we haven't got sort of the basic coming to market details on the vehicle as well. I think overall the 7-seater versions of these vehicles, like the Subaru Ascent, like the Telluride from Kia, like the Palisade from Hyundai. That is probably an even more crowded segment, but going to a 5-seater, and then I also consider this, Tommy, when I look at it, is that Ford have an ST version of the Edge, where there is just kind of the V6 or the 4-cylinder engines in this. The sports or the R version of this will only have trim level improvements and no engine improvements, right?
It says it has 2 engines.
Yeah.
And then its towing capacity is 5,000.
Right, but there's no ST version,
right?
And even which there is in the Ford. Although I think the ST version, the Edge, I don't know if you'd agree, Tommy, is interesting but not necessary.
Well, Nick, does it matter when Jeep has a 707 horsepower Grand Cherokee?
Absolutely not.
Well, but now you're talking price point, you know. So,
right, of course.
Yeah.
But I would rather pay $96,000 for a Jeep Trackhawk than I would buy 2 5-seater Atlas Crosssports. Wouldn't you, Jim?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the one they showed in Chattanooga was the R line. You know, and they're debuting, we should also mention, a new logo and also a new R-Line badge on this model. But it still has the same 276 horsepower, 3.6 V6 as an Atlas or a Standard. So, I mean, it looks like a more sporty version, but we'll be curious to see down the road, are they going to electrify it, or are they going to somehow add more performance?
I think they do have the capacity to do that. Will they do it? Probably only if this one sells. Tommy, where can we watch your videos?
Yeah, for sure. We're on YouTube, TFL Car, the Fast Lane Car, and we also have a website, tflcar.com. All
right. Tommy's awesome. Go watch some of his videos because they're highly entertaining. Tommy Micah from the Fast Lane Car, thanks for joining us on our Auto Expert today. The vehicle will go on sale sometime towards the end of the year, the beginning of next year. You'll be able to go test drive it for yourself if you're looking for a 5-seater large SUV with a sexy sport back. More coming up on our Auto Expert. Our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, they all help you start a conversation with us. OurAutoExpert.com is the website. You can find us on TV, on your radio, on your smart speaker, and on digital. We have been talking about several things today, including just talked about the new VW Cross Sport. But I also want to talk about what those vehicles will be worth in the future. So you buy a vehicle today, and what will it be worth? The Jeep Jeep Wrangler retains its value better than any other vehicle, according to a new study. From some luxury sedans all the way to plug-ins, they could be money pits for you, according to an online market survey by iSeeCars.com. The average 5-year depreciation of a car sold in 2014 is 49.6%, but the best value did much better than that. The 4-door Jeep Wrangler Unlimited topped the list with a depreciation of just 30%, and the 2-door Wrangler lost only 31.5% in its value. This despite the fact that they were replaced by all new models in 2018. Now Jeep, their followers, have many opportunities to buy different versions of that. The number 2 and number 3 in the survey, can you guess what they were? You're right, Toyota. The Tacoma was 32%, the Tundra is 35.9%, and the 4Runner, which is in the 4th position, is 36.5%. Honda's Ridgeline and Nissan Frontier pickup also made the top 10 list in 7th and 9th position, with the Porsche 911 and Nissan GTR, Subaru Impreza WRX sports car in the 6th, 8th, and 10th position. So what are they? Let's go from the bottom to the top. At number 10, it's the Subaru Impreza WRX, which lost 40%. Remember, that's 10% below the average. Nissan's Frontier, 39.5%. It lost over the first 5 years. The Nissan GTR, which now makes it much more viable for me to buy because I've been thinking about spending $100,000 on an all-wheel drive two-seater. No, I haven't. I'm just lying to you.
Hey, we had it here not
we
too
did
long
have
ago.
it here not too long ago. 8th position at 39.4%. Number 7, the Honda Ridgeline at 38.1%. Porsche's 911 is number 6. Then the Toyota 4Runner, the Tundra, onto the Tacoma. And then the Wrangler 1 and 2. So the worst car in the whole list, the Chevy Silverado. I'm kidding. I just did that to get your reaction.
No,
Jen's eyes went right back in her head.
No, I was going to say, I know for a fact I didn't write that.
I don't know what is the last on the list. I should go back to the survey and have a look. But it's kind of interesting that the Wrangler guys are the most fanatical. And yet their cars last the longest, or they depreciate the slowest, I should say, not last the longest. They depreciate the slowest, which is kind of interesting. Now I have a Toyota product as one of my personal vehicles. I was quite shocked at paying $48,000 for a brand new car in 2016, and I sold it in 2018, and it was only worth $19,000. So shortness of breath set in immediately.
Yeah,
so
but Jeeps,
I won't be doing that
Jeeps
again.
are sought out vehicles, especially here in the Northwest.
I think I might Wrangler might be in my future.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister had one for years until literally the wheels fell off.
The one thing about the Wrangler up until the 2018 version, I think they're actually going to hold their value much better coming into the future, is the 2018 version was such a massive milestone in quality of ride compared to those before. You know, we loved the way they always looked. We loved the way that they operated. We loved the capability off-road. You know, they were only compared to Land Rover. And the ride, you would have numb bum syndrome. I'm telling you got into one of those things and you would ride it and it would be uncomfortable for more than like a 20-minute ride.
I really like the new look. That we just drove at Run to the Sun and had the big subwoofer and everything in the back.
The look they've kept pretty much the same. They've angled the grill a little bit differently. They've changed the slots, widened it width a little bit.
And they changed the top.
They have different roof options.
Yeah.
I think now you can get it. You can purchase it. At purchase, you can buy it with all 3 roof options. So that's kind of cool.
And we learned that the doors are lighter weight.
Yes, and you can take them on and off. And there's only 4 bolts to put the windshield in.
Yeah.
It's a good buy. I can't knock anybody that wants to buy a Wrangler.
No,
my sister's looking for a new car, and that was my recommendation to her, is to buy the new Wrangler. So we'll just see. We want to talk a bit about trucks coming up on the show. We want to talk about the new Ford Super Duty. Tom Somerville is going to be joining us to talk about that. Of course, Ford rolled out at the Texas State Fair, or the State Fair of Texas, I'm not sure which the correct verbiage is, that they can actually tow most in its class now than any other Super Duty.
Yeah, I heard about that. They showed up Chevy.
A little bit. We'll talk about that coming up on Our Auto Expert, plus the Tokyo Motor Show. Welcome back to the show. I was at the State Fair of Texas, or the Texas State Fair. I can never remember which way to...
That's all your deep fried food stories, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? The deep fried stuff wasn't open when I was there.
Thank God.
No.
No heart attacks for you.
It was the biggest disappointment in my life.
I'm sorry.
But we did get to see a bunch of new trucks unveiled by different automakers. And we, although know much about the Ford Super Duty, they had some interesting numbers available for the Ford Super Duty. And on the phone with us is Tom Somerville from Ford. He's the Super Duty Manager. And that's kind of cool, by the way, Tom, to be the Super Duty Manager.
I love
It's almost
that.
like an adjective, rather than a title. Tom's the Super Duty Manager.
Missing one quick word. It's the brand manager. I oversee the brand and the marketing of the truck. I'm not the overall manager of all Super Duty. That would be a very cool job.
I think you should ask for the title for Super Duty Manager. I'll
Duty.
talk to the Ford family, see if we can make that happen.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
At least having super in your title is probably awesome. And manager, super manager.
Super duper manager.
Do you have to perform harder than any other manager?
Yes, I do. Exactly. My level of effort has to match the capability of our truck, so that's more than everyone else.
Pow. All right, so tell us the story. Tell us how you shamed all the other automakers in Texas.
Yeah, so it's actually been a pretty exciting year for Super Duty. Earlier this year, we revealed to the public the all-new 7.3 gas V8, the third-generation Power Stroke, the all-new 10-speed transmission. And then, as you were just mentioning, about a month ago, we, at the State Fair of Texas, finally revealed some more capability numbers. So with the 2020 Super Duty, you can get best-in-class towing of over 37,000 pounds, best-in-class payload of 7,850 pounds, and then we also revealed the horsepower and torque of our diesel engine. So 475 horsepower and 1,050 foot-pounds of torque. So the first engine to break the kilotorque barrier.
So I just want to set the scene for everybody. So there is this road, you sort of loosely call it a road. It's a walkway stroke road at the fair. And on this road is kind of automotive row. So you start at the beginning with automakers who have their displays, their tents, their stages, all their vehicles on display. And you go from the beginning all the way down to the end, and on each side, each automaker. And during the press days for the auto show portion of the state fair, automakers go one after the other with probably about a 5-10 minute gap in between, and they make announcements and they unveil cars and they talk about how they've done, how they're going to do, and what they've got new coming. And so there's one after the other, and they tend to be well organized, and they're all great. There's always lots of great product and great information that comes out, and all the journalists from all over the country go from one press conference to the other. And so there is the Chevy press conference, and Chevy have a massive trailer with an anvil on it, and on the anvil it says 35,500. And they roll this out with a press conference and cheers and music and, VPs waving and, telling us how it's best. And then right after that is the Ford press conference, and Ford roll out a big truck that says 37,000 pounds. Which, I think Chevy drove their truck out the back and set fire to it at the end of that.
I love how the rival continues year after year after year. It's great.
Would you think that, I don't know, did you guys do it on purpose to publicly shame them?
No, actually, we had no idea that they were doing that until the day before the show. And then we had very similar trailers as you were mentioning, also with big letters written on it. So no, we had no idea they were doing that though.
That's funny.
One other cool piece of news though is that although that is our max tow vehicle, an interesting part of 2020 Super Duty is the fact that every single one configuration, F250, 350, and 450, will all have improved capability with towing and payload. So, you'll see very unique configurations with that maximum, 35.5 for that competitor or 37,000 for us. We have made improvements across every single truck for 2020.
Now, that's great. And you guys tend to push the bar. But there is this, and I need to call you out on this, there is this considerable gap between the introduction of the truck and the announcement of the truck and the unveiling of the truck and then the numbers portion of the truck. So I ran into Michael Levine at the Chicago Auto Show, in which the truck was on display and everybody was talking about it, but there was no numbers available. And it almost looks like if I was a journalist that was looking for a story here, It almost looks like everybody unveiled their trucks at the same time, and Ford waited until all the other numbers came out before they gave us their numbers.
Well, yeah.
It looks a bit suspicious, I have to tell you, Tom.
I can understand that. I can appreciate that as well. We stick to our cadence of refreshes and revealing of public information. Over the course of the year, we have engaged in many go-fast products, including the Tremor, bringing the Tremor off-road package to market. And so, there are many actions that we took over the course of the year that also contributed to us waiting to reveal our numbers. So it's actually a cadence that we established, not just at the beginning of this year, but it was all planned and it just happened to be according to timing that we were going to be the third of them to do so. But typically, this is around the time of the year, back in 2017, same situation, where we revealed our capability for our new truck. So it's not out of the ordinary for Ford, especially for truck and Super Duty, to reveal their numbers at the State Fair of Texas.
And if there's anybody that doesn't need to do shenanigans, it's Ford, because you've clearly had the F-Series has been, 42 years has been the number one selling vehicle in the United States.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've been the best-selling truck for 42 years and the best-selling vehicle overall for 37 years. So, we've just built on some of the insights that we have gathered from our customers and are trying to channel that into the best possible truck we can build. And we're very proud of the truck we're bringing for 2020.
So let's specifically talk about the Super Duty. What's new on the exterior?
So all new front and all new rear. Included in that are the bumpers. Every single grill's been refreshed. All the headlamps are refreshed. All new wheels. But then, the biggest parts of the story have to do with the powertrain. So the all-new 7.3-liter gas V8 is designed from the ground up for both Super Duty and medium duty. That's coming new for 2020. This third-generation Power Stroke, ton of work done to it, new heads, new pistons, new turbo, and then, of course, the all-new 10-speed torque-shift transmission. So, yes, refreshed exterior, but a lot of the good and new news that our customers are really going to value is actually under the hood. And then finally, I don't know if you're familiar with Pro Trailer Backup Assist. It's a feature we've had on F-150 for a couple of years now, but it's finally coming to Super Duty. And basically, it allows you to, by turning a knob on your dash, back a trailer up. And so when you turn the knob to the right, your trailer will also go to the right. And it lets you back a trailer up pretty much indefinitely. So great new feature that we're really also excited to bring to Super Duty for 2020.
That's pretty awesome, because I'm really I have Airstream constantly contact me and say, hey, we'd love you to go take one of our trailers for a weekend and put your 5 dogs in it and go up somewhere. And I'm like, I'm not a towing guy. I mean, there are guys in the world that can tow, and they can tow massive, great, diggers on the back of their vehicles or bulldozers or whatever it might be. I love my trucks, but I'm not a good towing guy.
7.3 liter.
7.3 liter, yeah, Jen. That's more. That's more coffee than Jen drinks in a day. So,
I'm just like, wow. I'm just looking at it going, that's pretty cool.
Now, let's talk about the interior, because one of your competitors has spent a lot of time and a lot of energy on bringing up the quality of their interior, including a 12-inch display. Is that going to follow suit eventually in the F-150?
So we can't talk about future products or future product actions, but for 2020, we brought a whole slew of new refreshed colors and materials on the interior. So if you look at some of our highest trims, new headliners, new seat colors, new wood grain, new inserts, and we have a refreshed Bang & Olufsen 1,000-watt sound system in it as well.
That's not bad.
Nice changes also coming to the interior.
I did spend some time for Fox doing a story on Ford's interiors. You guys go above and beyond to test the materials on the insides of your vehicles, right? To make sure that they don't wear out, especially for things like trucks, when people are getting in and out of them with gloves on, with blue jeans on. You go and make sure that those interiors remain the same over the longevity of the vehicle.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And one thing that's really important that you also mentioned is the fact that you can access all of our controls within the truck while using work gloves. So we definitely put a lot of intention and we spend a lot of time making sure that the interior is not only comfortable and spacious, but also very flexible. So if you have your bulky outdoor jacket on in winter, for example, and you're using gloves, you can still comfortably manage all the controls and operate the vehicle, even with when you're all bundled up for, say, winter weather or coming off the job site.
Now, with a 7.3 liter diesel engine, are you managing to keep the environmental impact low?
So fuel economy is not something that the heavy-duty truck space, trucks with a gross vehicle weight rating over 8,500 pounds, have to report on.
Well, you have soy seats, right? So you're helping out there.
we have several different options of leather and vinyl and cloth, but we don't have soy seats. I think that would actually be a first in the auto industry.
Yeah.
Oh, not in the trucks.
So Ford developed them for their cars. I'm not sure the soy seats were developed for their vehicle. Where's the Super Duty built?
So Super Duties are built in Kentucky Truck plant outside Louisville, Kentucky, and Ohio Assembly, which is in Avon Lake, Ohio. So we're very proud to build all of our trucks right here in the U.S. of A.
You know something? I have a TV station in Louisville, so maybe what we'll do is we'll come down and we'll grab some trucks and we'll go take them into the TV station and show them off because they love their trucks in Louisville.
They absolutely do.
American-built trucks, most of Ford's trucks are built in America, aren't they? I think, if not all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So the Ranger's built at Michigan Assembly right here in Michigan. F-150s are built at Dearborn Truck in Dearborn, Michigan, and the Kansas City truck plant outside of Kansas City. So, yeah, we're very proud that all of our trucks are built right here in the U.S.
So now you've topped everybody else. Is the game plan to just keep on top of the competition, or are we going to see a Ram come up with like 38,000 pound?
Well, I can't really tell what Ram is going to do. However, we are relentlessly pushing the bar forward and trying to serve our customers the best we can. And you can see that not just through our capability, but with some of the new packages, as I was mentioning, the all-new summer off-road package. So we'll keep on continually innovating and trying to build the best possible trucks to help our customers get the job done.
When are we going to see these in dealerships?
You'll start seeing them in about a month or so. So, yeah, by the end of the year, you'll definitely start seeing them on dealer lots.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Thanks for spending some time talking to us today about the new F2, 350, and 450 Super Duty. These vehicles, I will tell you, soon they'll be able to tow houses. It seems to be getting absolutely incredible about the amount of weight that they can actually tow. Presumably, we can find out more information, Tom, at Ford.com.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole host of information on Ford.com, and you can anticipate seeing the new build and price website coming up in the next 2 weeks. So customers will be able to go on to Ford.com and build and price their 2020 Super Duty.
Perfect. And Jen's very happy now because we talked about trucks for a while.
Yes.
She's not happy in the show unless we talk about
exactly.
trucks.
We have to have one truck segment.
Tom, thanks for joining us. Coming up on the show, we're going to go and visit Tokyo. Not literally, but Perry Stern's going to be joining us from MSN and our auto expert to talk about our trip to Tokyo and the Tokyo Motor Show, which only happens every 2 years. We got to see some of the futuristic vehicles that will be on the street in the next 10, 20, and 30 years. We also got to see some unveilings of vehicles and what's going to be happening at the 2020 Olympics. We'll talk all about that coming up as our auto expert continues. Welcome back to the show. Of course, as we tell you every single week, we're locally created, nationally celebrated from the northwest to the southeast. This is America's Car Radio Show. If it has a throttle, we'll feature it on air, online, on mobile, or on smart speaker. This is our auto expert. I'm your host, Nick Miles, joined in this second hour by Megan, mommytravels.net, and Jen, our truck girl, who's here. I'm very happy that we got to talk about the Ford Super Duty. The Tokyo Motor Show is just winding up, and we got to spend a few days there. And Perry Stern is joining us on the phone from Our Auto Expert and MSN Autos as he was in Tokyo. Now, Perry, we went with different manufacturers to the event, and I think we saw each other for about 10 minutes, but we probably both saw very different things, didn't we?
We probably did, but we probably liked a lot of the same things, too, I'm guessing.
Right. So you went and had a look at a lot of the Nissan products. What did Nissan show at the show?
So Nissan had a couple of concept vehicles, one of which is pretty important. It's called the Aria, and it's showcasing Nissan's plans on heading to more electric vehicles. And this one is it's a crossover, surprise, surprise, since everything is a crossover now. But it's fully electric, twin motors, so it would be four-wheel drive, and it has kind of an advanced interior. And from what we're hearing, this car is getting pretty close to production.
All right. So interestingly enough, it looks nice, and I would say I could count like 5 or 6 of nice-looking cars that I saw at the Tokyo Auto Show. But boy, manufacturers can make some ugly cars.
Boy, that's the truth.
They do make some crazy stuff, yes.
Even manufacturers, which I really like, generally, when they make cars for different markets that probably won't come to the United States, I look at these things going, it's like the nastiest, squarest box you could possibly imagine.
I always
and
go,
that color.
Ew, what were they thinking?
Look how some people dress. I mean, you just never know.
Yeah, that's true.
To each their own.
We're going to name those off in the next
Okay, but I
show.
really like the Aria.
Yeah, so tell me about what
looks.
you know about the Aria, Perry.
So what we know is that it's, like I said, if you've looked at any of the concept cars that Nissan has shown over the last couple of years that always said, this is a look at our future, this one actually looks production ready inside, as opposed to these others that had very advanced interiors. That said, it's got, a double display screen, which we're starting to see on a lot of different vehicles.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is it's got haptic controls, which basically there's not a button that pushes, but they electronically feel like they pushed when you touch them, and they're embedded in the wood trim along the front, underneath the screens.
Yeah, so you push a little.
It's a really nice integration.
Yeah, you push a light basically, and then the light gives you a little feedback, and then something happens, right?
Exactly. So it's like having a button, but not having a button, which gives you all sorts of options on style and and placement as well.
All right, so this is electric, and it has 2 electric motors.
It does. So one on the front, one on the back, and this gives it, not only four-wheel drive, but it gives the ability, the system can manage the power going to either wheel or either front or back much better, which gives it a little better handling on dry pavement as well as on snowy, icy roads.
Right.
And so it's showing that an electric car, can be used. It's not just for driving around when the weather's nice.
Now, one of the things that, of course, has limited the electric car is the range and the recharging time. So, did Nissan have the range and recharging times down for the Aria?
Hey, we're not ready to talk about that just yet. This is still pretty advanced, but they hinted that it's easily going to be over 200 miles, I believe.
Right.
And so it's definitely a car that, we're still to the point that electric cars can't quite replace the gasoline cars just because they take a while to charge and they do have a limited range. As the range gets bigger and there's better, infrastructure for more ways to charge your car, it's going to become less of an issue. And this may be part of that run of new electric cars coming that might make sense as an everyday car.
Do you have any idea when we might see a production-ready unveiling of this vehicle? Is it going to be in the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years?
I would say, based on what we've heard, I would say within the next year we should be able to see one. So it's definitely close.
Hold our breath for a Chicago Auto Show or New York or something like that.
And it's possible. You never know.
Do you think they'll produce it in the States? Is this American-ready vehicle, or have they said it's only ready for other places in the world?
I believe this would be worldwide. So this, I believe this car would be sold in America, and I think that's part of the reason. It's a crossover. crossovers are so sought after in America that if you're going to come out with a brand new model, it kind of makes sense to do that.
One of the things that I don't know if you noticed, but right outside, and they had the Nissan, I think it was Formula E race car out there with a new race livery. They showed that off.
Yes.
But one of the things right opposite the Nissan stand was the stand for Renault. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Renault had 2 vehicles on their stand. They're a very small company in Japan. And both vehicles were a slightly different yellow, which made me so uncomfortable for the whole day. when you put 2 cars together and they're just like 2 shades different, and you think, like, did someone screw up somewhere? Did someone
it really bothered you all day?
It bothered me all day.
Oh my gosh.
Every time I walked past it, it totally bothered me.
That's awesome.
Perry, what was your favorite thing that you saw at the show?
I have to say one of my favorites was the Mitsubishi concept. Mitsubishi's shown us some really crazy stuff over the years that just, they're just silly. They just don't make any sense. But this one looked, they're not going to build it. It's too far, it's just crazy. But it's like a Jeep, but it's 2-seater, open top, all fully electric, and so with 4-wheel drive, and it looks like it would just be a blast.
I think it looks like it'll blast too. Very similar. VW had something similar earlier this year that they showed off that I thought was absolutely outstanding as well. Unfortunately, I think these things probably don't make much financial sense to actually produce because they probably wouldn't sell enough of them to get the production going. So that kind of is a sad portion of it.
Did you see the Lexus LF30?
Oh, Jen, you're jumping ahead already.
I'm sorry.
We've got another segment with Perry.
It's
We're going to
so
get to talk
weird
about
looking.
It's very weird looking, but it's also awesome. And I have to tell you, I may have driven something which had the similar name, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. We're going to come back. Perry's going to still join us. We're going to talk more about what happened at the Tokyo Motor Show. That's on Our Auto Expert. So catching up on previous episodes of the show, you can do that at our website. It's ourautoexpert.com. You can hear the past shows. You can see our automotive videos and read inside car stories about your next ride. You'll find it all at ourautoexpert.com. Megan is here at mommytravels.net along with car or truck girl Jen, as we like to call her, because she
likes trucks.
She likes trucks. She changes her own tail lights. Perry Stern's still on the phone with us, and Perry is from, of course, Our Auto Expert and MSN.com. Perry, so did you have experiences in Tokyo that will stay with you forever?
I suppose so. I imagine the typhoon that we had to drive through to get to the airport was probably the most exciting.
I was thinking of that and some of the weird things that wriggle when you eat them. But the typhoon...
I love that stuff.
G-rated. Keep it G-rated.
I was having sushi for breakfast. It was great.
There you go.
I'm okay with that. I just don't eat shellfish, so I'm a weird one. The sushi for breakfast is a little bit much. They tend to eat sort of vegetables and rice and soup for breakfast too in Japan as well.
They do.
It's kind of weird.
Which is fantastic.
Did you guys have ramen?
That's the way to go.
The real ramen?
No, we had fake ramen. We went to a fake ramen restaurant.
Well, it's different in the United States.
And you had to fill in the little packet yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say the no packet zone.
Yes, it was a no packet zone. Ramen was one of the things we didn't have. We went to a sashimi and sushi restaurant. We went to a tempura restaurant. We went to a shabi restaurant. But we didn't have ramen.
Oh, darn.
Because you can get a lot of good ramen in the United States. You can't really
you have to go back.
Yes.
Oh yeah, all right. I'm on my way. Hey, by the way, it was the plane flight. They fly direct from here, so it was really great.
Seattle,
it was like Seattle and Portland, and you have to change planes if you want to go to Chicago.
The kids and I have been on that flight.
You have?
Yeah.
How was
And
that?
I left some really important medicine in the Delta Lounge in the Tokyo airport. So.
And did they get it back to you?
No.
Really? Japanese are really good about that sort of thing. My friend from Lexus, Mo Duran, left his wallet in a shopping cart in a supermarket and went to the airport, got on the plane. The supermarket found his ID and called all the hotels within like a 2 or 3 mile radius, found his hotel, sent the wallet back to the hotel. The hotel found his home address and overnighted the wallet, so it arrived the next morning when he got home.
Okay, that's just really impressive.
That's the
impressive.
That's the Japanese, man.
But they're meticulous
honorable.
about what you bring over, for sure.
Oh yeah, well they tell you not to bring all those things over.
Well, if you're diabetic, I know that you can't bring your needles over. You have to get it cleared through the Japanese council first.
Well, I'm sure they have needles in Japan.
Well,
I mean, you could probably
can't-
get.
I know, but you can't bring them from the United States.
Right. But then
Okay,
you
back to cars.
Then you buy them in Japan.
So you did the iRide.
I drove the Iris. So one of the things we went with different manufacturers. One of the things that I got to do was to drive a bunch of the vehicles that will be at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which includes that iRide, which is the motorcycle stroke car, which is looks like the same as a motorcycle, but it's enclosed in and you sit down. You rather than get on a saddle. The cool thing about the iRide, and I don't know if you've seen pictures of it, Perry, is it has 2 wheels at the front, and so when you go around a corner, it tilts to the left or the right, and you go around the corner fast, and I got told off for going too fast around the test track because the back wheel was coming off the shockingly the back wheel and was coming off the ground, and they were like, nope, stop it. So
it's probably not meant to do that.
No, it wasn't.
Japan has shown. I mean, a lot of the manufacturers have shown those little personal transportation type vehicles, which is an interesting way of going. I mean, and it probably works maybe better in Japan than it would in the States, but. Right. It is an interesting idea to have your own little pod-like vehicle to cruise around town in.
Well, I thought it was kind of weird about the Tokyo Auto Show. They're showing off all these really cool, very cool little like scooters and personal mobility devices that were very basic, but we have them all here already in the States. We have Lime and the Bird scooters and everything, and so we have a lot of those things already. I mean, they were showing 3-wheel versions off that just stand up, and bigger versions and things that you sort of stand on with feet side by side rather than front to back. But we already have them.
Yeah, but we're totally different countries too. I mean,
we are. Okay, well, good. I didn't know that.
Well, oh my God.
That's sarcasm.
Space, Nick, space.
Did you see the pod-like vehicle, the larger ones at the Tokyo show? One of my favorite was the Suzuki Hanara, which is basically, it looks, from the outside when it's all closed up, looks like a odd-looking van. But inside, all it is like 2 couches and a flat-screen TV. No steering wheel, no nothing. The whole idea is the whole thing is autonomous, takes you wherever you want to go, and while you're going, you're lounging around watching television.
Well, I don't like that part. I like to be able to drive if I want to drive. I guess that's my.
This one, there's no option. This is like a bus.
I was driving down the interstate the other day, and I looked over and I saw this guy like texting with both hands. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Well, you could do that if you have one of these vehicles.
Well, he was in a Tesla.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a whole different... We could go on about Tesla drivers forever. The Tokyo Motor Show only happens every 2 years. They had the Future Show there as well, which showed off vehicles which could be coming to market in the future. One of the ones that impressed... Well, a lot of drone-based ones, but there was actually 2 that really impressed me. And I don't know if you got an opportunity to go over to the Future Vehicles segment, Perry, but one of the vehicles that I was really impressed was a rescue drone, which has a cage underneath. And basically, for those people that get trapped on the roof of their house in a flood or whatever, it lands next to you and you get in the cage and then it takes off and transports you. However, now imagine this. You're on a roof, Perry, in Seattle, and your home is flooded, and this thing lands on the roof. Would you get in it?
No.
See, I think that's the
I'm not
problem.
Ride in a cage hanging from something that someone else is flying.
Right. So I think the problem is, yes,
that's a good idea.
They've come up with a great way to rescue people, but if something landed on the roof and no one had communicated with me, would I get it? It's like if a spaceship landed, would you go inside it? Probably not.
I would.
There's a cage. Get in. But the question is, would there be treats inside?
Well, but perhaps that's what they do. If they put a bag of gummy bears inside or bacon, you probably get in.
Well,
right?
see, there you go. I mean, if you're going to get trapped, you may as well be trapped for a good reason.
The other thing
what's next?
the other thing I thought was great was looked like a wave runner in the future tech area, but it actually had 8 propellers on it, and the propellers face down, so it took off from the ground and was like a hovercraft. And you could actually sit on it like a wave runner, but then maneuver it, and it could go as high or as low as you wanted, which I thought was really cool.
Did you drive the E-Racer?
No, I didn't see the E-Racer.
E-Racer.
No, did you see the E-Racer, Perry?
It's Toyota's.
I did. I think that was the one at the Toyota stand, and that was what was interesting at the Toyota stand at the Tokyo show. Is if you had not been traveling with Toyota, which I believe you were,
yes,
you would think that Toyota did not bring anything
right.
to the Tokyo show, because all that was there was the E-Racer,
right.
of which there was very little information, but all they were showing were these like little scooter things and mass, vehicles for transporting people around the Olympics.
Right.
And so they had no production cars on their stand whatsoever.
They actually had a separate stand, I think, with their production vehicles somewhere else in the building, but their main stand had just the futuristic vehicles on it. The LF30, which we've only got like a minute to talk about now, but the LF30, which was Lexus's unveil, their new Lexus's unveil, their new vehicles. This is their all-electric vehicle of the future that has gull-wing doors and will have drive-by-wire steer, and the cool thing about it is a motor in each wheel. An electric motor in each wheel.
Gives all sorts of possibilities for driving, handling, and if it can do what the Mitsubishi can do, it can actually reverse one of the wheels and spin in one spot.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Doesn't the NSX have motors in all wheels?
No. They have motors on the axles, but not in the wheels.
These are in the wheels.
Inside the wheels.
Oh, wow.
The cool thing about this is you have to ask if it has torque vectoring.
No, of course it does.
Because it's like automatic torque vectoring in that vehicle. Pretty cool. Perry, where can we read your stuff about your visit to Tokyo?
Well, as you mentioned, ourautoexpert.com and MSN, as well as autonext.net.
AutoNext.net, of course, is Perry's site, but you can read all of his stuff on those 3. Very interesting read, by the way, Perry. I have read your stuff from Tokyo. Look forward to seeing you again in 2 years in Tokyo the next time. So much
Me
going
too.
on there. Everybody's saying, yeah, we'll be there. We hope to be there. It's a fascinating city, in love with so much
a long
about
time
it.
from now.
Yeah, well, I know, but I'm planning on it. It's my favorite city in the world. Coming up, we're going to talk more about cool stuff that Megan's been doing on Our Auto Expert. Locally created, nationally celebrated from the northwest to the southeast. This is America's Car Radio Show. If it has a throttle, we'll feature it on air, online, on mobile, or on your smart speaker. This is Our Auto Expert. I'm your host, Nick Miles, along with Truck Girl Jen and Megan from MummyTravels.net joining us in the studio. So you have been test driving a couple of cars, Megan.
I have. Most recently, I was in the 2019 Volkswagen Atlas, and today I'm in the 2020 Toyota Tacoma TRD.
In Army Green.
Yeah, it's an Army Green. You know what? And when they first brought it, I was like, ew. I wasn't thrilled about the color, but it has really grown on me.
Yes.
It's a really good-looking truck.
I like it. I drove the 4Runner TRD in Army Green this week in Dallas.
And that's a special color, right? Just
The
for
Army
the
Green's
TRD?
new for 2020.
Okay.
I don't know if it's exclusive to the TRD lineup, but it's definitely new for 2020. They have 4 very exclusive new colors at Toyota. 3 of them are amazing. 1 is hideous.
Which one's?
Let's get to the amazing ones first. We'll save the hideous for last.
Okay.
The amazing colors are the Army Green. I love it. I think it's great. They have a sand color, which looks like the Army vehicles that you'll see, Humvees.
Ooh, I like that.
It's sort of it looks just like sand.
I'm a very beige person.
Yeah,
so that
but
sounds good to me.
it's a mattish color, so it looks matte. It looks like the vehicle is an Army vehicle. So that's sand color. And then they have a concrete color, which is a gray, but they've made this gray so perfect. It's somewhere between an iPod and concrete. So it's sort of a white light gray. You should go and look it online. You can look at it online.
I was
right
looking
now.
at my phone.
I'm going to type in concrete color Toyota.
It seems like they've changed a lot of their finishes to the matte look instead of the glossy. Because I noticed like the rims have more of a matte look.
So go look at this concrete color. They've done such a good job of it because it's got sort of tones of blue in it. It's got tones of concrete in it. It's got tones of iPod color in it. They've done a great mixture of colors. I think they hit the nail on the head. They have a whole color. Every car company has a whole color lab where the people work on futuristic colors and what those futuristic colors will look like. But the concrete color is, because of sort of the blue tinge it has to it, is my absolute favorite of all the colors. And then the hideous one is that bright blue that doesn't appear anywhere in nature. I think it might be called TRD blue. It's so painful.
I like that.
I like it. I'm looking at it, but I like.
My eyes are being abused right now. I am being abused just by looking at it.
Says the
I
guy
love
that
it.
wears fluorescent orange clothes sometimes.
Yeah, well, I want to be seen when I'm working on the highway flagging.
Fair enough. That is fair enough.
All right, so tell me a little bit about the Tacoma that you've been driving. Do you like the Tacoma?
I love it.
2020, actually, they made some improvements. Now you have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You have a few things that weren't in the 2019.
And it's bigger.
The car should be the same
I wasn't
size as the
expecting
19.
it to be bigger. Well, I looked it up because I heard a bunch of people complaining about like the
Headroom.
the headroom, the
Yeah,
clearance.
they-
but apparently they changed the seat.
Oh,
The seats
okay.
are electric
All
now.
right. Yeah.
And so you can lower the seat and give yourself like an inch to 2 inches
For all of
more.
us, I mean, I'm just looking around the room.
It's a
For all of
non-issue
us
for
tall
me.
people over 6'3", that's
Yeah.
really tough. Oh wait, how tall are you, Megan?
I'm 5'7".
All right, you're the tallest one in the room. Just
I
letting you
know.
Just right now, you're the tallest
It
one.
feels
in the room.
good.
Does it? The only time in your life?
No, but
Wait, take those boots off. What do you got? You got these massive Texas cowboy boots on.
I do. I'm wearing my cowgirl boots
Right.
because I'm right.
I mean, she's got a lasso
I'm
around her
driving a
waist.
Toyota Tacoma. I got to wear my boots.
Ew, yeah. You know they're made
In Texas.
Toyota's headquarters are in Texas.
Yeah, Plano.
Yeah, Plano,
and then
Texas.
the factory's
That's where
in
I
San
was.
Antonio, right?
I was in Plano, Texas this week.
I know, you're killing
30
me, man.
degrees. 30 degrees. In Plano, Texas. I went down there not for the weather, clearly.
But was it sunny?
It was warm. Yeah, it was sunny.
Yeah,
It
there
was.
you go.
Yeah. It
Cold
was-
but sunny.
All right, I'd rather have warm but rainy. Yeah, so what do you think? Would you buy one?
I actually would, yes. It's interesting because that one is fully loaded and it's about it's right under $50,000.
Oh, that's a lot of money for a truck.
Well, yeah, but a couple of weeks ago I was in the Chevy Blazer,
Yeah.
which was also fully loaded,
Yeah, but
which
that's
came
an
in right
SUV.
under $50,000.
Yeah,
So-
I think
so
that's
for,
way overpriced.
So for the money, it's the Toyota Tacoma.
You know, the Tacoma holds its value. It's the third vehicle in the list of holding its value best in the United States.
the Tacoma specifically?
Yeah.
Wow,
The
I did not know that.
Tundra is number 2, and number 1, Jeep Wrangler, baby. Number 1 and 2, actually, Wrangler, 2-door and 4-door. So I guess they're 3 and 4, technically. All right, we're going to talk about the other vehicle that you've been driving as well. By the way, your son got a speeding ticket. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. How's he doing? Did he pay it?
Not yet. He's going to appeal it.
Oh, why?
So-
Because that wasn't a picture of him in the behind the driver's seat?
Because he was going with the flow of traffic.
Oh, yeah, that works.
I know.
I was going like 95 miles an hour, and I got pulled over by a cop.
Did you get
And,
a ticket?
He said, "Why are you going so fast?" I said, "I'm trying to keep up with traffic." He said, "There was nothing in front of you." I said, "Exactly. There's nothing in front of me."
Fair
You
enough.
are traffic, Nick.
I am traffic. When we come back, we'll talk about a little bit about the full-size 7-seater Atlas that you were driving, and then I want to talk about a couple of other things that are coming up. So stand by for that. That's coming up on Our Auto Expert as our show continues. Welcome back to the show. Our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts are all Our Auto Experts. Start a conversation with us, ask us questions, and you will get answers. Pretty good at that, most of the time, anyway. Megan is with us from MummyTravels.net, as well as Jen, our truck girl. Let's talk a little bit about VW. So as a brand, how do you feel about them? Both of you.
I love Volkswagen.
You do?
Absolutely. Yes, big time.
Jen?
They're middle of the road for me.
For me, it's model by model, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
I have to look at models. There's certain vehicles that I love, like the Golf GTI, and there's certain vehicles that...
Well, I love what they did to the Jetta. I mean,
the GLI is great, but the plain Jetta drives me nuts. The new one is nice. It's great. It's probably the best buy in America, I will tell you financially.
Absolutely.
What you
Yeah.
get.
Right.
But
I agree.
I love the Passat for the leg room and the CC, or now called the Arteon. That's amazing. And I like the big SUVs. The Tiguan is great. It has a third row. It's a great vehicle, but I probably wouldn't own one. But I love the Atlas.
I do too.
I love the Atlas. And it is the only car in its class where you can fold the rear seat forward with a car seat in it and get to the back row. None of the others will do that.
Which you think, who cares? But, I mean,
Well, you
That's a big
care
deal.
as soon as you have a car seat.
yeah, when you're dealing with the car seat 10 times a day, that makes a huge difference. So
People are very
that's one of my favorite
passionate about the car
SUVs.
seats.
I drove it last. I drove the
This is the 7-seater we're talking about, right?
the 2018 a year and a half ago through a blizzard in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And I had no issues. And I
Right.
mean the weather was horrible. So it's very spacious. I once had to sit in the third row with another person, and it was totally fine because all the seats move forward and backwards, so you can pretty much arrange it however
How
you
did
need.
you get to sit in the third row?
I was with a group of people, so I drew the short straw.
It was like whoever's the most petite back row, off you go.
No, I don't think so, but I can't remember, so
There's one older journalist who will remain nameless for this entire segment of the show. But every time we're at an event, this person rushes, and it doesn't matter what car it is, he'll get in the front seat, and he's 5'6", 5'5", and he gets in the front seat of whichever vehicle is available. He'll go down it until he finds a front seat available. to
honestly,
sit in the
I
front
do that
seat.
a lot. I get really car sick.
Me
so.
too.
It's not that. It's like there's guys who are 6'4" or
Yeah.
6'7" or 6'9", like Brian Armistead,
Oh, yeah.
who can't sit in the third row,
No.
and so they're relegated to wait to have the cars drop people off and come back and pick them up because there's just no way they can physically get into the third row.
Yeah.
If you get into a vehicle first, by the way, you always end up either getting the front seat or the third row. You have to work way to get yourself into it, have enough room to be able to sit in the vehicle, but sort of get into the pack portion of where you're the last person in, because then you always get the seat by the door. Oh, what am I talking about? It's like being a 12-year-old again when parents had a minivan. You didn't want to have to sit in the third row. It's much better now that the Atlas, of course, does come in this configuration where you have captain's chairs, because it's easier to get into that third row.
Yeah, my kids like that a lot. We actually road tripped in it, so we spent about 6 or 7 hours in the vehicle, and it was it's just spacious. It's laid out well. They liked it.
I know you always look for certain things in the vehicle because you have kids that you take on a lot of road trips, and that includes you look for charging and vents in the second and third row.
Yeah, you gotta have air circulation in the back row. But one of the things now, the kids really like having the heated second row seats, which, I mean, come on, it's kind of indulgent, but they do enjoy it. And yeah, charging is a huge deal. So
If you don't have
Huge.
charging, your kids start to complain and moan because they don't have iPods or iPads or
yeah,
iPhone.
then I have to talk to
Does
them.
anyone actually have an iPod anymore?
No one does.
No, I think iPods are done, right?
But you've mentioned it like 10 times, so maybe somebody will be like, oh, I
Well,
should
old
get
people
one.
have iPods still.
I have one of the very first original ones.
The steam powered ones.
No.
She's looking at me. Is there a steam powered
I'm
iPod?
like, no. But it's been put away for a long time.
Yeah, I probably did have one at one point, but got rid of it.
I like the vehicles where you can sync 2 phones to the vehicle, and then they can play their music.
Yeah.
And they can like DJ from the back row. You can do that in the Honda Pilot too.
I feel like that would be trouble with your kids.
Well,
Can you do that in the Atlas?
it's funny. Each kid has their own taste in music. I can't
They
remember
do.
if you could do it in the Atlas or not.
I'm kind
Wow, when we were kids, we had to get creative.
of headphones.
I know in the Chevy Blazer I was able to
Alphabet
sync two
game.
phones. That way Eden could play her own music. Eden hates my music. She's completely against gangster rap and only wants to listen to rock and roll. So
Oh,
she prefers to play her own.
I'm kind of against gangster rap too, to be honest with you.
Hey,
Well, I
I
know.
love
On our Jurassic
You
Across
love
the
it?
Country,
I
you
love
always
it.
complain
Jen loves
about
it, and
Bring
you
it.
love it, Megan.
Yeah.
And you are like the most ungangster people I know.
it. How do you know?
I do know. I've known you for long enough.
In my
Jennifer
next life, I
Jenkins.
will be a gangster.
Will you? You're so unlike it. You go to church every
A
Sunday. You can be a
Texan
gangster.
gangster.
A
She's going to be a
Texan gang-
Texan gangster.
Oh, Texan gangster. Well, I guess most people in Texas are gangsters.
Right.
If you look at it like
The
that.
Wild Wild West.
The Wild Wild West.
Yeah,
That's a gangster song, right?
Oh my God.
I just like
It's
the
a rap
Volkswagen because
song.
the price, man. The price is killer. To get a vehicle that big at that price, which you're about to ask me the price and I can't remember, but it's like
What's
maybe
the price,
maybe
Megan?
$35,000 for a third row SUV
Which one are you talking
loaded.
about?
The Atlas.
The Atlas actually starts at 30, 31.
32. 32.
That's
Depends
even
upon where you
that's
start.
even
No, 32.
better, and it can tow up to 5,000.
I got it right here.
Yeah, but you add in delivery, it's 32.
Oh,
So like
true.
it's like $1,000 delivery.
yeah, okay.
So $32,000 for that, and that's the 4-cylinder 2-wheel drive. So let's be honest, everybody
the-
wants a 6-cylinder 4-wheel drive, right?
Right, which will put you at 40,000.
Yeah.
But again, what would you compare it to?
There's a lot of cars.
Like an Explorer?
Yeah, Explorer's a.
How much is an
6-cylinder.
all-wheel drive Explorer?
Explorer's more expensive than most other things. They start around 40.
Okay.
Well, no, wait a second. They probably start about 35. But the one I want, the Explorer ST, yeah, and we're talking about $50,000 starting price. Mm-hmm. So they're not cheap. They're not, horribly expensive. Too. Explorers are kind of cool vehicles as well. There are a lot of vehicles in that class, and I can assure you the new Jeep Grand Cherokee is going to be a 3-row, probably. The new, there's going to be several new cars that are in that category that are only 2-row right now, and are going to end up being 3-row. So competitive against the Atlas. Right now, Subaru has the Ascent, but that only comes in a 4-cylinder with a CVT transmission, but it does have a bigger engine in it. I mean, it's a bigger version of the 4-cylinder engine. My favorite, which is a V6, which is the Kia Telluride, and then there's the Hyundai Palisade, which both start at $29,000-$30,000, which is a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Palisade on the road the other day.
Yeah.
That is a good looking vehicle.
It is, and it's sort of more the Lexus luxury style
Yeah.
of vehicle.
They have those crazy warranties on them, don't they?
Yeah, 10 years, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty.
Yeah.
So it's honestly, it's good. I mean, there is an awful lot of good stuff.
Whereas I think the Volkswagen only has the 4-year warranty, right? 50,000, 4 years.
Powertrain, I think, is 6 years, 60,000, or 7 years, 60,000. You'd have to go look it up. I don't remember I barely remember price of vehicles. I definitely
Well,
don't
you
remember
see so
warranties.
many, Nick. I'm surprised you can remember.
I drive
all that.
110 vehicles a year,
Yeah.
at least. Probably a lot more than that. But
That's a lot.
minimum of 110,000 a year. 110 a year.
The closest I've come to buying a car for myself is the Volkswagen Atlas.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wait, don't you have a nice Honda Odyssey minivan from 1996? Oh, 2007. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Well, it's got almost 200,000 miles on it.
All right.
Eventually, it has to be replaced. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's
one of
not-
these days.
I'm still not really hearing why you shouldn't, why you should replace it. But
It'll be interesting to upgrade because I'm going to go from zero technology to all the technology.
oh yeah, well you have Bluetooth in your vehicle, don't you?
No,
You don't?
that came out the next year.
Do you?
Do you have airbags?
Yes, thank God.
You have airbags?
I don't in my truck. So one of my trucks. So.
Really?
No, the
Holy-
94,
Holy cow!
which is awesome
I didn't
because
realize
I'm little.
people didn't have vehicles that had airbags in them. I guess I did, but I didn't think about it.
Well, I have to turn them off anyways because of my size.
I
I
can't-
just got a recall on mine to have that airbag replaced.
In the Mini,
No, in the Lexus.
I can't keep up with all the cars you own.
I know.
It's confusing.
It's fun to drive up in his driveway. It's like, ooh, what has he got this week? What are we going to drive this week?
Listen, I've been told no more dogs, no more cars, and no more something else. I'm not sure I can mention on the radio.
Motorcycles?
Handguns. I can have as many motorcycles as I
Motorcycles?
want.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the list of no mores.
Oh, really?
Well,
Yeah.
I need to go have a talk with somebody.
No,
I'm
you
just kidding.
don't. No, you don't. Keep your mouth shut, lady.
Like the technology I'm looking forward to is the simple things, like the automatic windshield wipers.
Yes.
And the
That
automatic
came out.
high beams.
That came out in like 80 something.
Whatever.
It did. Toyota had that in the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. I
Yeah.
thought that was new technology.
Rain sensing windshield wipers. I think maybe in the 90s, maybe in the 2000s. I don't know. I didn't check. I think it was invented. No, the windshield wiper itself was invented by a woman. You know that?
That makes sense.
She was fed up of getting out the car and cleaning the window for her husband. So she invented the windshield
You know
wiper.
what? Someone needs to come up with a wiper for some of these sensors. Like the automatic cruise control won't work if the sensor's covered up.
Yeah.
You're driving through bad weather.
All right.
And then I got to get out of the car and wipe it off.
And if it's dirty, too.
I was driving the Land Cruiser
First world
across.
problems.
I was driving the Land Cruiser across Oregon through really bad weather, and it just got filthy. So I had to keep pulling over and wiping it off.
Let's just back up a second here. You shouldn't have cruise control on in bad weather.
Yeah.
Because it becomes more unreliable. Yeah.
There was nobody
I don't mind dying.
There was nobody out there. It was like the only car on the road.
Oh, you sound like, well, there was no one else on the road, so it was okay for me to use my phone. No. No, Megan.
The Land Cruiser, we went on a 5-hour one-way road trip, and I could not figure out how to work the TVs.
Okay.
And I just about lost my mind.
Doesn't, what?
How do you say that? Citroen?
Citron.
Yes.
Citron means yellow.
They came out with it in 1970. They introduced the rain sensitivity intermittent windshield wipers.
All right,
What?
1970. What year is your minivan, Megan?
The 2007.
Yeah, all right.
It's
So
okay.
30 odd years later.
I always tell people don't buy a minivan. Just don't do it.
Why? The
You'll regret
Chrysler,
it. You'll regret it.
the Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid is like the best vehicle
It
ever.
is. It's amazing.
Ever.com.
It is, but you're still driving a minivan.
Yeah, but it's cool.
It's,
Some dads, and let me just tell you, I have
No,
a friend who
minivans are
owns a
cool.
Toyota dealership, and he drives a Sienna. He owns a Toyota dealership. Imagine what he could be driving. A Supra. And he owns a minivan. That's what he drives. So
Wow.
cool people do drive minivans.
To each
Just
their own.
some don't drive them that smell like bad mushrooms and come from 97 and their kids hate, which is like yours. But does it still smell funny inside your minivan?
Probably.
Why don't you get a new car, Megan? Seriously.
Because I get to test drive new cars all the time. So
Yeah,
why
you
buy a
bought
new
your
one?
son
a
Mustang.
A 2014 Mustang.
and you have a
After-
1903 minivan.
After I said how many times I'm not buying you a Mustang,
Right.
and then I was like, you
You know-
only live once.
You know, like the level of what your son is allowed to do now is just gone out the window. He'll do whatever he wants now because he knows he can talk you into it.
Yeah, but he's a great kid, so I don't really have to worry about it.
Well, what do you care? Guess he's amazing. All right. If you want to listen to previous episodes of the show, I will tell you that you can go to our website, ourautoexpert.com. You'll find them there. All the episodes that we've ever done on the show. I think 99.9% of them are there. We have a few best ofs that didn't get up on the website. You can also watch some of our TV reports because we do a lot of Fox TV around the country. You can also go read articles which are written by our article team. If you want to find out about new vehicles, especially about the Tokyo Auto Show, Perry Stern's article is right there. You can find some cool social media channels to follow, which happen to be ours as well. They're all Our Auto Expert. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, and whatever. They're all there, lots of them. You can read all the latest in car news. We'll be back again next time. Until then, please try not to get any more tickets. We're about up to the limit now. See you then.